Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday and it's November 17th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And I thought I'd start out by showing you the daily chart. You can see we're continuing. We just had an inside day today. We're still continuing to trend higher. Today we actually closed down from yesterday, but we're just kind of an inside day. We're still over bought here. Not anything like we were up here. You can see as soon as we touched that brown line, we sold off pretty quickly. But we bounced off this trend line a couple of times, and we're trying to push higher. We're really between the midline and the trend line right now. We're just an inside day that closed down in the end. So our target, if we're going to get a measured move, is still up here just above 4,800. I think it's around 48.20, 25. I can't remember exactly what that number was, but that would be our near-term target if we continue higher. There's a lot of T's there. Anyway, I thought I'd start out showing you this chart. Let's go back to the daily chart and go through the trades. Not a lot of trades today, but we'll go through them. So let me get that chart up. Okay, here we go. Here's a look at our 2000 tick chart, and you can see that it's just mostly a sideways inside kind of day. We had a little trend down. We trended back up. Where did we go? Of course, to the close from yesterday. That's always a great target to look for when you open. Notice we opened here and traded down, but the close was up here. Prices will almost always try to go back and test that before they continue on. So, and that's what we did. We had a big sell-off after that. Then we recovered most of that and just kind of chopped along, right along that middle of the range kind of deal there. So, I just found this green range late in the afternoon. You can see most of the supports right along there, 48.68 or so, and most of the resistance. It still was a kind of an overall downward bias today, but there's not a lot of good down trades other than early on because we were trending up here, and then we were just we did have this move down, but you didn't really get a good opportunity to enter it, and then we were just kind of chopping around after that. So not a lot of direction late this afternoon. Really from noon on, not much direction at all. So let's zoom in, talk about the trades, and wrap up the day here. Okay, here's how I saw it early on. It looked like we were really kind of going sideways, but you can see the EMA turning down. I originally drew this off these first two swings, but it really didn't fit. We had two measured legs and then a two-legged correction, and then that's often the center of a pattern. So I would also draw a measured leg from here and one from here. And that puts us down right in this area. We actually went a little further than that before we corrected. So that would have been a nice target once we started lower here. And that's the way I was looking at it. And I drew this blue channel off of this swing, and you can see we confirmed it here. And you can see that came back. That's playing that midline perfectly, low side perfectly. You get the break here, move to a new low, and then we corrected after that. So I believe that to be correct. That's how I was looking at it. So, but usually you'll draw it off those first two swings, but it just seemed that it set up off of this one, and that's why you draw it. You draw it both ways, and maybe there is a shorter term one here. I can't remember. I deleted that early this morning, but you can see, yeah, maybe there's one there too. You get the break and you leg down on that. So that's probably just a shorter term trend channel inside the blue, and really all you need was the blue one. So, all right, let's go through the trades. 7 o'clock started, I believe it was right down through here on this move down. And so you get a bounce, you get a first entry, you get a little second entry there, but look how congested that is. Don't go short right there on that inside bar. That's just congestion. But you can see there's actually two legs up, and there's a little two-legged correction in the middle. So you're probably going to get a measured leg up, and then on a bigger picture, that's a second entry short. Big bearish bar. I like going short right there. If you'd got a lower high, if this would have broke higher, this would have been another place to go short, but it didn't. And so there's no real setup there. No failure really here either. That's a first entry. Your failure would have been way down here. No, you definitely don't want to be going short. That's just congestion. And of course you get the two-legged correction, big bearish bar. That's a great place to go short. And that's the trade of the day. Actually, both of these would have been nice trades, but that's the trade of the day right there. You probably get a runner definitely off this one. You may or may not have got one off this one depending on how you entered it. Definitely probably get one here, and that runs down here to the measured move and a new low, and then we bounce out of there. And notice you got a new low and a first entry, and then a second entry that fails. That's a failure when it breaks higher. I'm not as crazy about this because this really looks like almost like sideways. So this looks like one leg up. So you may get a second leg up here, which either way that still probably makes this worth considering here, but you couldn't take it that way. You have to treat this like a failure, and it doesn't look like an ideal failure setting up to me, but I still treated it like one. I like this trade. I believe I took this trade honestly too, so I like that setup. And it was a quick, easy move, but you didn't get much more out of it. Then you're just kind of working sideways, and it drops back down and bounces and continues up, and you really just don't get a chance to enter this one. There is a failure right here, and it does confirm the trend line, so you might have entered right there on that. You could treat that like a little breakout pullback, but notice the new low, first entry, second entry. There's probably going to be some trap traders there. I'm not as crazy about that one that far away from the EMA, but it does confirm that trend line, so it gives you something to think about there. And you actually get an overshoot up here. This could be right here. Originally this morning I had this here, but once it went higher, and maybe it still was there, but once it went higher, I believe that you had to consider that it's either right in here or probably right there. And that's where I moved it up to, right there. And notice you get a first entry, second entry. Usually you want this to be failure to be on the other side of the EMA, but since we hadn't got back to it yet, and that's such a bearish bar, we're probably going to the EMA. So if you got room there, take that trade. And it actually tries to break higher again and turn down. I'm not as crazy about that one. There is a little channel working down here. So you might consider that trade as a short. I'll mark it green. I'm sure somebody's probably going to ask me about why I didn't like it, but it sets up right at the EMA. It is an engulfing bar, so to enter, you got to, unless you enter on the engulfing bar, which is a little risky, you got to enter way down here, and I wouldn't enter down here. The only way I might enter that is on the engulfing bar and have my sell stop one tick below that bar right there. Of course, it runs down. It's an easy trade, and it bounces. And then it looks like it's going to try to make a new low here, and it gives us a break of the yellow channel. And then we make a higher low here, right back in this little sideways stuff. So I like going long there. And then you get a failure right here that gives you a breakout pullback as well, and a big, nice reversal type bar. And that thing runs on up, and you had to assume this was probably what our target was going to be here. And that's exactly where we went to. And then it just turns down. Unfortunately, there's no setup up here to get in that, unless you're just wanting to gamble on a ride back to the EMA, and that's never a good idea. There is a lower high here. Again, it's a little late. It's very similar to this trade right here. It's almost like a repeat pattern. So, I mean, if you took that, maybe, I think it's risky. And of course, it runs on down. And you get a close outside new low. You get a higher low here. I didn't mark this, but this is one of those that you may, and there's some sideways action, but there's not that small bodied bar or no bodied bar. So technically this is prices finding some support here, and it's similar to this. It's really what prices are doing is they're coming back again and testing this breakout. Being that far away from the EMA, you may take that higher low. I'll mark it green. But you get a first entry, and then you get a second entry short right here. And look how bearish that bar is. I like that on the second entry short. Uh, it ends up bouncing, but it's good for an easy scalp, and then it bounces. And then notice right here, you get a first entry, second entry, and this is a higher double top, basically. And it's a failed second entry short. So if prices break higher there, they probably got some shorts trapped. And you can see how that rockets up real fast before it backs up. That was a great trade. And you actually make a double bottom, so then another first entry, second entry. So there's another failure there. I liked this trade as well. I marked it green though because that's congested right there. That's definitely your nobody. So you got three or more, you got two of them right there. So you got three or more bars stacked up sideways. At least one of them has no body and another one has a tiny body. So that's congestion. And you can see how it broke higher and backed up and looked like it was going to fail for a minute, and then it went on. But you still might have considered that because it is a failure and prices were finding support. So it's a good chance it could run some stops there, which I think it did before it sold off again. Again, no chance to really get short here. It just runs back down, makes a low, comes back and tests it, no signal bar. Then it comes back again and gives you like a triple test and a pretty good signal bar right there. And you can see the support now. It's bounced there a few times. I like going long there. That's about as good as you're going to get on a range with lots of support like that. That's pretty consistent from noontime till after 2 o'clock. That's been consistent support. So I liked that one. It would have been nice to get a higher, that technically that is a higher low, but it would have been nice to see it bounce again and get a little higher low with a little more room between the EMA. But on range days, you can't worry so much about the EMA. Sometimes you just got to take it or you're not going to get an entry. And that took us into 230, and you see you wouldn't have got, there is a failure in here after 230 that went higher. I mean, that's just at, what time is that bar? 233. You might take that trade. I mean, that's a, notice the new swing low here. It's lower than that one. So first entry, second entry, and it's also a second entry long. Plenty of room back to the top. So, yeah, I mean, you might take that trade. It is after 230, but I'll mark it. And you can see we just, not much happened after that. We just kind of stayed in the range until we failed out the bottom. We actually closed inside the range. So now we're into another day. Somebody sent me their stuff, or actually I think it was on the forum, and they had drawn their trend from over here. And this black line is the break that happened at 4 o'clock yesterday. And so that was a close at 4, and then the next bar is when it opens back up at 5. Don't use the prior day's price action in your trends and stuff, because what they did was they used this trend and drew it. I forget how they drew it. Maybe something like that. And I'm not saying that trend's not correct, because it does tend to hold prices. Not great. You only get one turn down off that trend line. I'm not sure if that was exactly how they drew it or not. Maybe it was more like that. And then they got burned on a trade right here. Don't use this price action from the prior day. Always start your trend line from the current day's price action. Everything you need is in today's price action, and you'll get a more accurate picture. So that's my rule of thumb, and that's the way I do it. Not to say that you can't find trends from the previous days, because you can, because this stuff is all fractal, and you know it's layered, and so you can find different trends from the different layers, from all the way down to a micro trend like this within the yellow one, and then a range in there as well. You can find all that within, so it's layered from different levels, and so you might find a trend that's working from the previous day, but you'd be better off still to use today's price action. So hope that's clear. But anyway, all right, I don't see anything else much worth talking about here. It's just kind of a sideways day. It's just like a consolidation day. I think this market wants to go higher, but I think it's been way overbought. So a little rest through some consolidation would not be out of the ordinary, would not be unexpected, so to speak. So, and I think one of these rallies here, it's 9:30. I think we rallied right in here at 9:30 and then came back and reset really quickly. That's probably I don't know what the crude oil was. They forecast 1 million barrels or whatever. It looks like the previous was a million barrels. But usually oil will not affect the S&P or the ES or the market very much. But when there's problems in oil and there's shortages like there are now and prices are going up, it can tend to affect, it can sometimes affect this market. And this is one of those times where it could. And I'm thinking that's probably why that rallied up real strong. And usually, like most rallies that are news driven, they take it back pretty quickly and kind of reset and start over from there. And that looks exactly like what happened. It rallied at 9:30. Once the emotions are over from the news and the news driven stuff is over, it comes back and resets and kind of starts over again from that same spot. And I think that's what we saw today. So anyway, that was my chart for the day. That was the trades I saw. I'm going to wrap it up. No sense in dragging this on anymore. Hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again tomorrow, believe it or not, and wrap up another week. So anyway, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.